All right, everybody. More of the same. Apologies, but that's just what the Giants are giving us right now. 0-3 after losing 22-9 to the Kansas City Chiefs here on Sunday Night Football. This is Pat Leonard from the New York Daily News and the Talking Ball with Pat Leonard podcast, Talking Ball Postgame Live. Welcome, everybody. Thanks for hanging in. It's a late one, as always, for these post games on prime time, whether it's Thursday, Sunday, or Monday. And it's getting very late, very early for the New York Giants, for Russell Wilson in particular, for Brian Daboll. We are going to cover all of that. I think the headline of this game is the fan base immediately in the home opener seeing what I thought we were going to see from Russell Wilson against a defense that was not coached by Matt Eberflus. And that is an inability to push the ball down the field, an inability to really manufacture yards and points without just throwing that trademark moon ball. Russell Wilson now with 3 interceptions in the last 2 games. At the end of the first half, he had 3 interceptions in the last 3 quarters, going back to the game-losing interception in Dallas in overtime. His interceptions today were lollipops. He had another one that Malik Neighbors had to go up for that Neighbors got banged up with on the play. Malik Neighbors, after the game, asked about frustration and how frustrating it is that they are 0-3. He said, how frustrating do you think? We're 0-3, can't win a game, frustrating. So you asked me how frustrated I am. Frustrated, can't win. He said that they had a cloud over top of him. The Chiefs played 2 safeties back for about 80% of this game, the highest rate, according to Next Gen Stats, for any defense in a game this season. The fact of the matter is Brian Daboll is supposed to be the offensive guru. He and Mike Kafka have to figure out a way to attack a defense differently. You can't just tell me that a defense is going to put an extra safety back over top, and now you don't have an answer for how to get your best player the football. Really a pathetic inability for them to adjust, to find ways to score. Their only touchdown, a nice run by Cam Scadaboo with some good blocking from Daniel Bellinger, John Michael Schmitz, and John Runyon Jr. Even that drive helped out by 20 yards worth of Chiefs penalties. But this is about the Giants continuing to find ways to lose, and it's about how it comes in all different shapes and sizes, which is a consistent theme for this regime. In this game, you had the pregame injury to kicker Graham Gano, hurt his groin while kicking in pregame warmups. You have a poor offensive game plan and an inability to adjust and find ways to get your best player the football. And you have, of course, an extremely costly mistake by Bobby Okereke when Patrick Mahomes tried to hand the Giants the football. Okereke picks up a fumble and has it ripped back out of his hands by the Chiefs quarterback. This is where the Giants lost the game. And again, we always talk about situations and the Giants' inability under Brian Daboll and Joe Schoen to adequately win on the margins. And this game, there was a lot to be disappointed about. There's a lot to be frustrated about, and we'll go back to the quarterback in a second. But guys, it starts with when you look at Malik Neighbors, no targets on the first 15 plays of the game, no catches on 3 targets through the game's first 3 quarters, and he finishes with 2 catches for 13 yards on 7 total targets. And the offense is struggling, but all of that said, we're late second quarter, and the game is 6-6. The game is tied. Harrison Butker 2 field goals, also missed one, and Cam Scadaboo and the Giants score, and then Jamie Gillen has an extra point blocked. At that moment, you have Okereke failing to recover the fumble. Mahomes grabs it. The Chiefs punt. Russell Wilson throws a lollipop interception, his second of the night, and that's when the chants start coming down. We want Dart, from fans at MetLife Stadium. The Chiefs drive down, kick a field goal to go up 9-6. Goes to halftime. The Chiefs come out of the half, get the ball, drive, 11-play, I think 78-yard drive. They score on a touchdown pass from Patrick Mahomes to Tyquan Thornton. They go up 16-6. And even though there was still a lot of football to play, That's where the game was lost. That's where the game turned. That's where the Giants again demonstrated that under this staff, with this coach, with this GM, with this roster, they do not know how to win those moments. The Chiefs were ugly at plenty of points in this game. They just found ways to get around it. They were just as desperate and lost at times as the Giants were. You saw Andy Reid chest bumping and screaming at Travis Kelce in the first half, trying to get one of his best players going, trying to light a fire, and showing the kind of desperation and concern for how late it's going to get for the Chiefs and a team that's consistently going back and back to the Super Bowl if they can't find a way to get a result. And Brian Daboll was showing emotion too. He was angry at officials for missing a face mask call, Cam Scatterbu, all of that. But the Giants don't find ways to then convert that emotion, that frustration, that desperation into actual results on the field. It just becomes the same old conversation about, like Daboll standing there at the podium after the game saying, I thought we did well defensively, talking about missed opportunity here, missed opportunity there. We should not be talking about the details. We should be talking about the big picture, about the fact that John Mara ran this regime back, and this is what it looks like. This is what John Mara and the Giants deserve for running this back. 3-14 wasn't an accident, and 3-14 wasn't Daniel Jones. 3-14 wasn't, Jerome Henderson and Mike Trier and anybody else that they want to scapegoat every year. 3-14 is the Giants. That's who the Giants were last year. And 0-3 is who the Giants are now. I picked them to win 3 games this year, and I'm starting to look like an optimist again. We're going to get to your questions. There are times where you feel speechless watching this team because it's just the same old thing. In the fourth quarter, guys, the fans were starting to stream for the exits, even when, remember that deep pass to Tyquan Thornton? It looked like he caught, but then you could see on replay that it hit the ground. And so they eventually ruled it incomplete. Even though they ruled that play incomplete, fans were streaming for the exits. The game was still within reach, quote unquote, but they had seen enough of the Giants offense. They knew what was going to happen. They knew that the Giants were not going to win this game, even when that pass fell incomplete. And sure enough, as the knowledgeable Giants fans in the stadium saw and knew at that moment, Patrick Mahomes goes right back to Thornton, makes an incredible catch on an incredible throw. Kareem Hunt punches it in, and the Kansas City Chiefs are off and running. Russell Wilson deteriorated right before our eyes in this game, not just from the interceptions, but to the point where, guys, in the fourth quarter, an intentional grounding out of the back of the end zone, throwing to nobody, happy feet, even when the pocket looks good in certain situations, showing no composure. Did look to me like there was a play where Russell Wilson kept the ball, where Neighbors and Scatterbu thought that they had something going on the other side of the field and were hoping for the play to go that way, and it didn't. This brings me to the critical moment and conversation here, and that is Jaxson Dart and Russell Wilson. And there were the chants of we want Dart. Then when they put Jaxson Dart in, the fans got happy. You could hear cheers. And when Brian Daboll took Jaxson Dart back out of the game and put Russell Wilson in, you could hear boos, and they grew louder and louder every time they put Dart in and put Russell Wilson back in the game and took Dart out. Jaxson Dart was diplomatic, said I didn't hear it. Some other players like Darius Slayton, stood up for, they towed the company line. Like Darius Slayton said, in my time here, I've heard a lot from people, so it's nothing new to me. It doesn't really mean anything. I understand the fan perspective. Fans want what they want, but at the end of the day, our job is to win football games and put the people out there that give us the best chance to win football games. I think we'll continue to do that. He said Russell Wilson is still the guy. Brian Daboll basically said, we're going to continue to work with Jaxson and develop him. He, again, asked about who he's going to start next week. Basically said, yeah, you asked me that before. I'm not going to answer that right now. So it again leaves the door open. But that is the conversation now that we have to have, not just because, this isn't me just coming out of the locker room telling you that is what I believe is the critical story, but all of the fans, the paying fans, the season ticket holders, the people who pay good money to watch this franchise and who bought into the optimism that the team was selling on Instagram all offseason, that is what the fans saw today, is that this offense stinks. And there were two reasons why tonight. Number one, you get two high safeties and your offensive coordinator and your head coach don't know how to attack it. Concerning. Two, the quarterback is not it. This Russell Wilson is not it. He just is not. I know he had an explosive game against the Cowboys, but as we talked about, they still weren't able to convert in the red zone in that game. That's how Dable found a way to get Dart onto the field in the first place. And so that is where we stand. Some other interesting notes here. Taylor Swift was not here. Odell Beckham Jr. was, however, in the Tisch family suite taking in Sunday Night Football. So that was interesting. Josina Anderson, friend of the pod, has a video of Odell outside the Giants locker room chatting with Malik Neighbors, and I think it was Antonio Pierce. And was great to see Odell at Trace and Chase grand opening in Totowood, New Jersey, as well as Kyle Rudolph, Golden Tate. Warren Moon, got to meet Warren Moon, a gentleman, and Carl Anthony Towns in the house, as well as Michael Rubin of Fanatics. So Odell Beckham Jr. still wants to play. He, like I said, he was in the house here at the Tisch Suite tonight and got to witness the fact that the Giants are still very far away. But it's time to take your questions. We are brought to you here, of course, as you all know, by MyBookie, Hooks, Rubs, and Spices, Boom Chaga Mushroom Super Drink, and Sal Loretta for Men. Check out the arrival videos, the fits on social media. You can see the codes down there. MyBookie Leonard. Talking Ball 25 is the code at boomchaga.com, and Talking Ball is your code at Hooks, Rubs, and Spices. We'll do our Giants trivia. From Hooks, Rubs, and Spices, Jared checked in earlier and said, I can't stay for the live, but I have questions. Do we see Turbo and Jude next week? When Andrew Thomas went out, did the offense get worse? Why let Russell Wilson run a read option after Dart did? Do we even have an identity? Jared, thanks for those questions. So do we see Turbo? Tracy with the shoulder injury, if he is out, then you would expect the Giants to have another running back active. I would think that would be Miller, but even though he shows promise in preseasons, the Giants always seem to hesitate when push comes to shove there. So we'll wait and see. But I would say, given the offense's lack of explosiveness and inability to create plays, it can't hurt to add another element to the mix. But I would not count on that. Jude McTamney, yes, I would assume that you would see him. If not, then what is he doing here? Graham Gano with the groin. I don't think you can just, first of all, you can't even put yourself in this position. And this is another reason why Dable and Shane are such concerning leaders of this franchise, is that this happens to them all the time. This Graham Gano stuff and kicker stuff in general. We've had the Jets game in 2023, having Gano, who was injured, kick a 35 or some yard field goal rather than going for a 4th and 1. He misses the field goal. The Jets tie the game and then win in overtime in the rain here at MetLife. You had last year, obviously, the infamous Graham Gano aggravating an existing, injury during the opening kickoff against Washington, unavailable for the game. Gillen has a missed extra point, and then the Giants unsuccessfully go for 2 twice after their other touchdowns and lose the game by 3. And now you have another game that is immediately colored by an injury issue, a roster issue, a game day active player issue, issues that are avoidable by teams that are well managed. That's the best way to put it. So, yes, I think you would see Jude McTamney next week. I do not think that Thomas going out was the reason that the offense continued to stay bad and and did not produce down the stretch. And in the second half, there was like an immediate pressure off of Bo's side when he, on his first snap, pretty much when he replaced Thomas. It's possible that Russell Wilson gets a little bit happier feet with Thomas not in the game, but I didn't put that on Bo's blocking or protection. I thought Wilson, in the end especially, looked more like he was unsettled on his own rather than the offensive line. Yeah, we asked, Daboll was asked about like when he's putting Dart in versus Wilson and why not. And he kind of mentioned that, he mentioned he put it on like Kafka calling the plays and when he decided when to do it and when not to. Didn't really love that. I mean, he talked about, a plan for it and the fact that there are situations that depending on the yardage down and distance where it calls for it or it doesn't. But it's obviously just a lot of window dressing and explanations that really don't get to the heart of the issue. Especially like if Dart comes in the red zone and short yardage, and that's what he's doing right now and all he's doing, then how come when they get down in the red zone, in the low red zone, when it's time to punch it in, and Russell Wilson has shown you now through 3 games, he cannot do it. So once you get down there, put Dart in. But why, they're putting him in around the 20 and the 15, but then they're taking him out at the 5 and not putting him back in. There's just no rhyme or reason to it. Do the Giants have an identity? I would say that they're trying to be a hard-nosed team, and at times they play that way, but they don't have enough guys making plays to convert their attitude into the identity they're looking for, So Carter, Scattaboo, guys like Burns, Thibodeau, even some of the tackling at times on the edges, by the corners being good today, like guys like Adebo, but just not enough. And we have another super chat here from D Kit. He says, Pat, what is painfully obvious is that our team is poorly prepared, situationally challenged, very predictable, and simply poorly coached. When Dart finally plays, we will still be poorly coached. And that raises a really good point, D Kit, which is, let's say people in the Giants building are excited about Dart enough that they think that it's time to put him in a game, right? Dart might be able to, at times, make plays to lift this offense to a different place than it's in right now, at times. But if they're truly honest with themselves about what the real issues are that D-Kid is pointing out, then wouldn't they understand that it's not only is it not going to look perfect with Dart, but he might end up being, succumbed to or he might be exposed to the same disappointments and setbacks that the team puts on the offense, on the quarterback, on the players that play here, right? Like, I've gone 18 minutes now and I can't believe I haven't mentioned it yet, but we're watching Daniel Jones play like Johnny Unitas right now for the Indianapolis Colts. This is a quarterback that the Giants cut, benched, released, gave up on, blamed everything on, right? They brought in Russell Wilson as if he was the guy who was not going to turn the football over and was going to do all the things that Daniel Jones couldn't. You think Daniel Jones would have had 9 points tonight for the Giants? Maybe. You think he would have had 9 points for the Colts? We all know that that's not true. We all know that with different coaching and a different supporting cast and a different spot, he's flourishing, just like a lot of Giants players do when they leave. We have some great super chats coming in. I will get to questions that are in the queue, but we have some people setting some great examples right now. As you all know, here on Talking Ball Live with Pat Leonard, postgame from MetLife Stadium. I'm the New York Daily News NFL columnist and Giants beat writer. We also do this podcast 3 days a week during the season, including post games, and we have special guests on throughout the week as well. Benny Fowler actually came on the podcast this week, and because we didn't do our preseason predictions, I asked him what he thought with the Chiefs at 0-2, who he had in the Super Bowl, and he still put the Chiefs as his Super Bowl winner over the Green Bay Packers. And so now, listen, do the Chiefs look like a Super Bowl winner right now? They do not. But they got off the mat tonight. Patrick Mahomes did his thing. Their coaching staff created significant advantages all over the field on both sides of the ball at times. And they're still alive. Giants did no favors to the rest of the league. But here's the example that everyone's setting as the armchair quarterback checks in with a 50 burger. Thank you so much, armchair. Really, really appreciate you. So as the armchair quarterback is demonstrating, as Jared and D-Kit just demonstrated, if you purchase a super chat or a super sticker from here on the YouTube channel, PL on NFL, Talking Ball with Pat Leonard, if you purchase a super chat or super sticker and ask a question with that super sticker or super chat, it will be elevated to the top of the queue. So I see all of you in here loading questions in, and I appreciate you all being here. And I will get to as many as I can. But I will prioritize the super chats. Those of you supporting us in that way, I'm so grateful. Thank you so much. All right. Armchair Quarterback says 3 things. I'm so happy for Daniel Jones. Graham Groino could have used some hooks, rubs, and spices. Dabes said not good enough 20 times in his presser. There is a drinking game in the post-game chat. All is meaningless until the clowns are fired. Great points, Armchair, about I love how you're finding new ways to use hooks, rubs, and spices. How about this, to Armchair Quarterback's point about how much of a circus this has become? Guys, if you were watching at the end of this game, how about NBC putting up a graphic with a plane flying a banner over the stadium when they were putting up the negative stats for the Giants playing at home? Wow. I mean, wow. I tried to snap a picture of it when I saw it come across my iPad as I was watching the broadcast. That was really something. They put up a graphic that said last 10 seasons, they had a .399 winning percentage at home, the 3rd lowest in the league, just ahead of the Jets and Jaguars. 1-8 home record last year, obviously now 0-1 this year. And then they had this plane graphic, 6 of 8 home games against 2024 playoff teams. You see the plane flying over the stadium. That caught my attention. And then they went to the triple box of Dable, John Mara, and Joe Shane. Not a great look. Not a great look. And as much as the national networks try to do right by everybody and make every team and prop up every team. And, what the league always wants is parity. So the more teams that you can convince the public that are still in the mix, the better. But even after them trying to do all of that, they ended up at the end of this broadcast having these graphics ready to go about how sorry the Giants are as a franchise. And I'll say this again. The main takeaway from a game like this is that this is what the Giants deserve for running this regime back. This is what they get for running back a 3-14 regime. They get more of the same. Joey B., who was very frustrated, a diehard birthday weekend, joined us on the podcast on Thursday, was an excellent co-host, and sat in the stands tonight and was doing his best to give the Giants as many chances as possible, but in the end, just as frustrated as all of you guys. He says change needs to happen swiftly. Enough is enough. This is like being a Jets fan. Hit me up after I'm out on the town. Can't sleep after that. Joey B., try to blow off some steam. Thank you so much. Scott says, if you could bring in any new coach, who would it be? That's a good question, Scott. I don't know. You want Wink Martindale back as head coach? Giants have only won 3 games since he left. Maybe I don't know. You need an offensive mind, you need a defensive mind. You need a collaborative approach where you have experts on both sides of the ball. You have some CEO ability to your head coach. I know that the Browns have kind of floundered in recent years and are a mess. I said at the start of this season that Kevin Stefanski would be an exciting coach in my mind to bring here if he ended up leaving Cleveland for any reason. But I think you're right to be thinking about what's next. Patrick says, I didn't get to his questions at the top of the chat. I didn't see a super chat up there, Patrick. Hold on. I must have missed it. Sorry about that. Let me check. Or maybe you're just calling attention to it because I skipped it because it wasn't a super. Let me see. Where are we, Patrick? I'm missing it. Let me see. Hey, Patrick, throw your questions back in the chat at the bottom, and because you purchased the super chat there, I'll get right to them. Okay. So please just reload them into the chat on the bottom because I just went through real quick. I don't see them. Nick says, "Hey, what's up, Nick? Good to see you, man. Nick DeAngelis, TikTok golfer extraordinaire, former stud kicker. Not just saying it because I'm a former kicker, but I think it's time to move on from Gano. A lot of young guys with better legs are out there." Yeah, Nick, it's like as a team and as a staff, you want to trust. You have to toe the line between like trusting what the players are telling you about how they feel and what they can handle, and you also have to make the best decisions though for the entire team. And I think the most disappointing part of what continues to recur with the kickers and with Graham Gano particularly is you just want your training staff and your head coach and your GM to have a handle on where your players are, where do you need important reinforcements, when is it time to elevate a player at a certain position. They obviously have McTamney in the building on the roster for a reason. They're developing a player, but they also know Gano is 38 years old. So that's part of the plan, right? That's supposedly in place. But they just always seem to find themselves in this kind of situation. And you can't field a team on a game day in a game that's this big and end up shooting yourself in the foot before the game even starts. Now you could say, "Oh, Pat, it's not their fault that that he just pulled his groin in warm-ups, this and that. It happens." This stuff always happens to them, and if it's not a Graham Gano injury, it's something else. That's kind of the point. Patrick, reload your questions, man. I want to do right by your super chat there, but I just don't see your questions above. Into says, I got nothing but Ajita and this super chat. Your super chat is much appreciated, Into, and I'll try to get to some details maybe that could make you feel a little bit better, but it's probably not going to be much tonight. All right. While I wait for Patrick to drop in his super chat question, Aziki says, are we at the point where we throw Dart in because there's nothing left to lose? Or is the coaching so bad it doesn't even matter? Yeah, that's a great question. It's not just the coaching. It's also it's the infrastructure. It's the roster. It's the planning. It's the scheme. It's the approach. It's the organization's standard. Like like Brian Burns said today, something I wrote it down as he was saying it. He said, I'm not here for moral victories, but the fight is different this year than it was last year. Because he was asked about like the 0-3 start, how he feels now compared to last season. And he's saying that the fight is different. I'm tired of hearing about, how something this year is better than last year. Stop telling me that. Go win a game. Go win a game. And, Brian Burns, one of the many guys on this team that's putting his body on the line, giving his all. So I'm not calling anyone into question when it comes to, any of those tangibles. That's not what I'm saying. I'm talking about what is the standard of the team. And the standard for the Giants as an organization cannot be, hey, we did some good things in another loss. The Giants here's where we stand, guys. The Giants have lost 14 of their last 15 games, 9 of their last 10 games at home, 3 straight home openers, and 8 straight in the NFC East. How in the world does anybody here have a job? How in the world? It is unreal. So your question, though, was, can you put Dart in, or is the coaching so bad it doesn't matter? I would say in an ideal world, you're not throwing Dart in just because the team is struggling, because you know that there's plenty of other issues with the team. I do, though, think that because Andrew Thomas is back, if you can keep working Andrew back in, and if his foot is okay and he's handling it, then the offensive line maybe is in a place where you can feel more comfortable about going to AT. That's what I think there. Patrick says, I basically said it's time to move on from Wilson. We need a quarterback with more athleticism, like when Dart came in the 2 times with positive yards. Russell just can't break the pocket. Yeah, and you know what, too, Patrick? Thank you, by the way. You didn't have to purchase another super chat for that, but thank you so much. Always a big supporter of us, Patrick. The thing is, his decisions are a half a step or more slow, too, in my opinion. Like, the interception to Neighbors, it's kind of like he sees it but doesn't throw it, but then he ends up throwing the ball anyway. And by that point, Neighbors is kind of waiting on the ball, but the corner is waiting on it too, standing in front of him. And it was one of the easiest interceptions you'll ever see. Even on the pocket escapes, like to your point, unless he goes immediately full speed, beelines out, he's not going to be able, to do enough with his legs to be the player that he once was. And that's why, that's why he's just not, that's why he didn't have a market outside of New York. That's why he didn't have a market outside of New York. And you're absolutely right, Patrick. Like, here's what's funny. Daniel Jones had the mobility, and had the, he had the mobility, the physical toughness, those kind of things, like a good arm. But he wasn't pushing the ball down the field enough, and he was turning the ball over in critical spots. And even though he could move the ball between the 20s, he couldn't finish in the red zone. Russell Wilson comes in, throws a better deep ball based on what you see in the game against the Cowboys, but isn't as mobile as Jones, not as fast, not as dynamic athletically, doesn't put the defense on its heels unless the defense is poorly coached. And he just doesn't instill any fear in a defense. Nick DeAngelis says, I think we need a guy like John Gruden to come in. Ooh, there's a name. John Gruden definitely looking to get back into coaching. I mean, I already mentioned Wink Martindale. Okay, so what about a John Gruden, Wink Martindale combo? There's an offensive mind and a defensive mind. I mentioned Stefanski. Like that. Like that suggestion, Nick. What do you guys think? Stefanski and Wink? Gruden and Wink? Or would you rather see, a different coach or a different DC? Those are some interesting options. Patrick says Drew Phillips also is terrible. At this point, to me, he is another Joe Shane bust. I think that Drew Phillips is a competitive player, and I think that if you took Drew Phillips off the Giants and you put him on a team that was a stronger team and had a better secondary around him, like, in other words, I think if you gave up on Drew Phillips tomorrow and gave him to a team that was pretty good, I think you would watch him make plays on that team and say, "Damn, another Giant who goes to another team and succeeds. Why couldn't he be better with us?" I don't think he's a bad player. I don't agree that he's a bad player, but he got picked on tonight at some critical moments, and definitely I think you see. Listen, as somebody who played sports at a youth level and then eventually was found out, at different points in different sports that I wasn't going to advance any further. Size in sports matters. You can have speed, you can have toughness, you can have, athletic ability, instincts. But if your arm's not long enough, if you're not tall enough, if you're not strong enough, you're going to lose battles, right? And you saw in this game, like Phillips was in pretty tight coverage at times tonight and was still beaten because of those physical capabilities. I did think that the deep pass interference where he dragged the guy down, I know what he was trying to do there because he felt like, I don't want to be off balance. This guy catch it and this guy walk in for a touchdown. So I get it. But, that was disappointing because it was kind of like he ran with him the whole way. He was there, and then he just grabbed him and pulled him down. Patrick says Kafka and Wink as the staff. Oh, that's an interesting one. All right, let me get back in the queue. Let's see. This is a great chat. We're cooking here. Remember, guys, it's mybookie.ag for all of your Pats picks and NFL picks, casino, UFC, WWE. The code's on the bottom there. Get a deposit bonus. Hooks, rubs, and spices, big Texas barbecue flavor, all natural. The smoke and sweetness is an award-winning flavor. Plenty of award-winning flavors for whatever you're putting on the grill. Smoked wings, cheesy nachos, flat top burgers. My favorite is brisket. Also got great swag at Hooks, too. Go to hooksrub.com. Use that code down on the bottom for a 15% discount. Talking Ball is the code there. Leonard is the code on my bookie. You guys already know Boom Chaga Mushroom Super Drink, mushroom natural extract loaded with anti-inflammatory, immune-boosting antioxidants and heart-healthy compounds. BoomChaga.com. Start feeling the difference today. Salad Rider for men as well. Bergen County, New Jersey, Midland Park. Luxury menswear and tailoring. Go there and tell them that Pat Leonard sent you. Iconic says, hey, Pat, can you ask ownership if they are willing to do everything to win? I think at some point it's not just the coaches and GMs failing at their job. Now I see what Bill was saying. Well said. Yes, whenever John Mara speaks next, I will ask him. Joe says, Pat, we learned today Wilson read his press clippings and still does not realize he is the 36th best quarterback in the NFL. Dallas's defense is terrible, and the only team they are beating this year is the Giants. Any QB will look good against Dallas. They need to cut Wilson and start Winston to see if they can have an offense. They are the same offense as last year, 1 touchdown a game. Hate to say I told you so, but this is what I saw in camp. GCN says, Pat, Shane and Mara looked like robots on TV. They look stunned, like they did not know this team was this bad and Wilson is a terrible quarterback. That's because they thought they were good and they thought Wilson was really good. That's why. I know that sounds crazy, but that's why. Ken says, blow it up. Shane and Daboll have proven they are not capable. D-Kit says the team is terribly coached at all levels. While everyone is saying fire the coach, Jonathan says, no one has named a suitable replacement that would be interested in the job. I mean, Jonathan, it's not, NFL teams, like when their quarterback is bad, then they plan on getting a new one the next year. You don't always know exactly in the moment what it's going to be, but you don't run back a bad regime and a bad coach and a bad GM or whatever just because in the moment you're like, I don't know what I'm going to replace him with yet. You find a solution. You find an improvement. I mean, we're 3 weeks into this season, right? And I don't know. You know what I would ask you, Jonathan, is if you're a Giants fan, how much losing are you willing to take before it becomes obvious that you need to make a change would be my question. HAR says, sadly, Rush should be benched and bring either Winston or Dart in. Play calling was atrocious. Poor execution by the offense and coaching staff. Malik's immaturity showed today. Yeah, it was interesting. After he got banged up, there was a deep pass that Russell Wilson threw to him down the sideline that wasn't perfect, but he could have gone up and tried to make a catch, and Malik just watched it float over his head and incomplete. Thought that was interesting. Let's see. Who do we got? Scott says, Chucky and Wink. Gruden loves Dart too. That's true. Patrick says, is Dexter Lawrence 100%? He doesn't seem so. I think he's healthy enough, but I've told you guys this during camp. He did not look like he was in football playing shape, and he just doesn't make enough of an impact on the games because, as far as I can see, he's not in playing shape. The Giants' job can be offered to Gruden to lessen the impact of his NFL case, Milan Fan Club says. Dable just needs to be fired. Shane paid Daniel Jones because he saw the potential, and Dable forced Daniel Jones out. My vantage point, I think that ownership saw more with Daniel than anything. I think that Shane and Dable were both a part of moving on from Daniel Jones. It wasn't just Brian. H-Town, health and wealth to all. What's going on? D-Pat frustrated with Drew Phillips. Makes splashy tackles at the line, but can't cover to save his life. An injured kicker again. H-Town says Mara's love incompetence at coaching. Since Tom left, it's been the black cloud hovering over the organization for doing Tom, Eli, and Spags wrong. It's Dart time. Dable, Bowen, and company must go. Clean house now. H-Town says best thing I had. Let's see. Okay. Talking about the Giants getting cooked like barbecue chicken teriyaki with pepper and hooks, rubs, and spices. This is what venting looks like, guys. I totally understand, and I'm here for you. This is a safe space. Let's see. GCN says, Scatman, 10 carries, 60 yards. Stay with him for the whole game. I mean, he's the guy now. I know Tracy played a lot at the beginning of this game before he got hurt. He was being featured, and Scatterbo was factoring in. And certainly part of that is like trying to keep guys fresh too. But you could see going into the Dallas game, the changing of the guard. Let's see. And like I said, Scatterbo does bring toughness. He does bring toughness. Let's see. H-Town says, Russ looked like a guy who knew it was over. He took his last snap as a New York Giants starter. It's crazy because any other coaching regime would have let Winston sling it around the yard all game. That's the thing. I keep saying this. Like, you look at a game like this, I think it's fascinating. Some of you are saying, like, hey, if you don't think Dart's ready, just put Jameson instead. I like that. I like that. And I think that's all going to be part of what I write tomorrow morning. Is going to be like, enough of this guy. And, enough of this quarterback, enough of what we're watching right now. Because if the reason you didn't even make it a competition with Jameis Winston is because he turns the ball over, then what did we watch tonight? Russell Wilson just throwing the ball up for grabs? But then again, of course, like, what was the offensive plan even? Ranger Pete says this coaching staff sucks. Piss poor play calling, no halftime adjustments to get Neighbors the ball. They will screw up Dart. Just look at Daniel Jones. Looks pretty good after he got out of town. Coach D says this is not incompetence, it's sabotage. 3rd and 7 run play, and he goes for it on 4th instead of taking the points in the first quarter. Again, someone punched Dable in the face. No physical violence here on Talking Ball, but I will say this, Coach D, the reason he went for it is because they didn't have a kicker. That was, I mean, Graham Gano did say that they talked about him being able to kick something from 40 yards and in if it was called for. But, they definitely right off the bat were going for that 4th down because their kicker had just hurt his groin in warmups and was icing it, So that was part of that. But, I mean, listen, when they're in the red zone, these critical 4th downs, the quarterback just can't make a play. He can't make a play. GCN says 130 rushing yards, maybe stick with it, and more than 1 touchdown. All right, guys, let's go to our hooks, rubs, and spices. Let's go to our hooks, rubs, and spices Giants trivia question. And it's a very simple one. Your Giants trivia question is, when is the last time in his NFL career that Malik Neighbors was held to 13 yards receiving? So that's your Giants trivia question for tonight. If you answer it correctly first in the queue, you will win some hooks, rubs, and spices delivered directly to you. Trivia question is, when is the last time Malik Neighbors was held to 13 yards receiving in an NFL game? First correct answer wins the prize in the queue. Tiger Metal Stack. That is correct. As Tiger Metal Stack is pointing out, it never happened. As Michael is pointing out, it never happened. That's right. That is the correct answer. That was a slight trick question. No, last year against the Eagles, so that Lumbaba remembers against the Eagles, he only had 4 catches, but he had 41 yards. This was a career low for Malik Neighbors in this game, and it was not even close. I'm going to give it to both Tiger Metal Stack and Michael, because Tiger Metal Stack, did you mean that it had never happened before? Because that was a little bit ambiguous. I think that's what you meant. But so Tiger and Michael, here's what you guys are going to do. Tiger and Michael, direct message me your name, address, and your email address. So direct message me on Instagram. So my Instagram handle is PL on NFL. So go to my Instagram, PL on NFL. Direct message me, send me your name, your address, and your email address. I will forward them to Jared from Hooks, Rubs, and Spices, and he will send out some free Hooks, Rubs, and Spices to you. Thank you so much for participating and staying on top of it. I actually looked it up earlier, and I had a feeling that was the case, but I couldn't remember because I know there were some disappointing games from Malik last year. But holy cow, this is bad. Joseph says, Pat, would love to see you do a watch-along a la Tom Grossi. Watch-along on the games you're talking about, like live. I would like to do that too, Joseph. The problem is if I'm in the press box like I am, it's hard to be able to do that. I would have to not be at the stadium to do it, which is tough. Yeah, Tiger, I'll give it to you one more time. It's PL on NFL. PL on NFL on Instagram. We just search my name on Instagram. You'll find me. Name, address, and email address. And then we'll get some Hooks, Rubs, and Spices out to you. Hooks, Rubs, and Spices. We smoke meat. Go follow them. It's at Hooks Rub everywhere on social media, including on YouTube. And get in on the flavor fun today. Patrick says, why didn't the organization keep the tight end Greg Dulcich? We aren't getting anything from the position. Another bad decision from the organization. Patrick, I think Greg is the kind of player who, like, when he's playing in the preseason against twos, he shines. And then when he's playing against ones in the regular season, he looks more like a 2. Now, that's fine. Like, he's still an NFL player. But, you see him on the Dolphins sideline inactive the other day. I mean, it's not like he went somewhere and is starring. But I hear you on the tight end position. This is it's funny. There are so many other bigger problems that this regime struggles with, but the tight end position is just like a microcosm. All right. Thank you, Michael. The tight end position is just a microcosm of this regime's inability to figure it out. They've drafted Daniel Bellinger. They've drafted Theo Johnson. They've drafted Thomas Fedone. They traded for Darren Waller. It's just a position where they just keep throwing assets at it and they can't get it right. Right. So, all right, let's get back into the queue. And we'll keep going for as long as they'll let me stay in here. How about that? When Bob comes in to kick me out, Bob comes in to kick me out. All right. Let's see. I'm going to try to go through the queue and get to people with who haven't asked questions yet. Jacob says, smack that like and sub button for my brother Pat on your way in. Yes, great reminder, Jacob. I always forget that, and you always remind me, keeping me honest. Thank you so much. Yeah, guys, please subscribe if you don't already. Like, if you're watching right now and it's not letting you ask a question, that's just because you have to be a subscriber to ask a question. It doesn't cost you anything. Just hit subscribe on the channel, and then after about 5 minutes, it should let you ask a question here on the chat. And then what Jacob also said is please hit the like button while we are live. Those live likes are very important for pumping this to YouTube, telling the YouTube NFL community what we are doing. And what we are doing here, which is so different from what a lot of other people doing. There's a lot of great content out there, a lot of hardworking people, but I do take a lot of pride in going live with you guys right out of the locker room after talking to the players, talking to Brian Daboll, and after watching the game in person, texting with sources, and really being able to give you guys like an inside look at what the team is feeling, what they're thinking, where things stand, why certain plays happened or didn't, and to really give you my honest take and informed take on what's going on with the team. So subscribe to the channel, PL on NFL Talking Ball, and also hit those likes while we are live. Really appreciate it. Let's see. Jacob says, Pat, has Mara ever fired a regime in season? Last time he did, it was Ben McAdoo and Jerry Reese for the Eli Manning benching that John Mara himself signed off on. And so it is uncommon, but it has happened. Joe says if they lose to the Saints, everyone is gone. I think it's funny, too, that with that comment, you're basically giving them the loss to the Chargers already. H-Town says Mara should have walked onto the sideline and handed out walking papers to the whole coaching staff. Unprepared team with very poor game plan on both sides of the ball, says D-Kit. GCN says they should have let Dart run the red zone with 4 minutes left. Russ proved he can't play anymore. I totally agree. Dart is a waste if he is not allowed to pass. The other team knows he is run only. They did try to call a pass play today with him, and Spags dropped into cover 2. Dart said that he took away everything deep, so Dart just tried to make a play with his legs. Players are not in a position to win, says D-Kit. John F. hits on something that I just can't wrap my head around either. How do you not get Malik Neighbors the ball in the first half? Even if they are doubling him, you have to run bubble screens, jet screen run, maybe put him in motion. Everyone is going to copy Spags' cover schemes now if Russ stays in. John, I genuinely have no idea how they went into this game and Malik Neighbors touched the ball that little. It is unbelievable. Unbelievable. This guy's supposed to be an offensive guru. John says, I don't buy playing Dart now because of the teams coming up. He's going to have to play the Eagles and other tough teams next year anyway. It does not get any easier. Right, you're saying don't keep him out just because the schedule's tough. Put him in if it's time. Yeah, no, for sure. Joe brings up something that I was going to ask you guys too. Do you think there will be planes flying over the stadium for the Chargers game? Joe says, Pat, they are firing up the planes for the Chargers game. Even the broadcast had the plane cartoon showing their terrible record at home. Absolutely. That graphic was something else. H-Town says, crazy how Mara allows years of incompetence at coaching, destroying Giants' legacy. No pride, no sense of urgency to represent the logo on the helmet, field, or jersey. No respect for the game. It's crazy. It's crazy. Chargers are going to put up 40, says Dan. Ezekiel says the quarterback draw at the end of the game made me physically laugh out loud. The fans booed that as loudly as I've heard them boo, any play. Giants are going to have the 3rd pick in the draft again. Hooray. Congratulations for being dumpster juice since Eli retired. Let's see. Armchair says it's all meaningless until the coach and GM are gone. Look at Daniel Jones. Offense is limited with Russ, says Deuce. Doesn't throw over the middle and is shaky in the pocket. John says Dart's ability to RPO and fast tempo is exactly what this team needs, but I'm not sure Daboll's play calling is up for that. Jay Fed points out that he said during camp to cut Grand Gano and that I said no. Oh, interesting, Jay Fed. Well, I stand corrected then. That's a good point by you. I will say, J-Fed, at that point, um, you know, uh, just as a reporter around the team, I'm not going to, if the guy's has been a great kicker for most of his career and, I'm working with him and he's preparing for an NFL season, that's a tough time for me to just say, cut this guy, especially when this is the thing. Jude McTamney, if you bring him in, are you counting on him like you're counting on a healthy Graham Gano to make the types of field goals that you're used to having your veteran kicker make in critical situations when he's healthy? I think that you need to have full, utmost confidence, unwavering confidence in the replacement you're bringing in. But then again, to your point, just like I was saying about replacing coaches, it's kind of like, hey, if the person in here is not getting the job done, you got to find somebody else. And maybe you just have to make the change and go from there. So I think that's a good point by you. And I will say, if I were running a team, I would absolutely have a closer read and monitoring on players like this to avoid situations like this. So here's the thing, and I'm sure you guys all know this in your different jobs or operate this way at times, and it might not even be that's conscious, right? At times, but it's like you need to stop and think about what the worst case scenario is for your team and in certain situations, and you need to guard against that. So if you have a player at a key position who's going into a game injured or who's managing things or whatever it is, like you need to guard against the worst case. Like even look at the reason why the Dallas Cowboys were unable to stop the Giants, but the Chiefs were down the field. The Dallas Cowboys had no discipline or plan for just keeping the ball in front of their safeties. They were running drop coverage, but still letting the ball behind them. The Kansas City Chiefs tonight were determined not to let the ball over top of their defense. They would not let the Giants throw the ball over their heads. They always had someone back. Always. And so, you guard against the worst case, and that means if your kicker is somebody who is 38 and who's regularly injured recently, then you need to prepare for that. So, J-Fed, kudos to you. Aziki, Indiana Jones. Oh, this Daniel Jones thing, it's not going away. It's not going away. We'll be writing and talking about that early this week. I can promise you that. John says this team might be 1-11 going into the Monday Night Football game against New England. And other than Tommy DeVito, the Giants are horrible on prime time. Other than Tommy DeVito. Yes, the Dallas kicker did play at Notre Dame. Just start the kid, says Intel. JDJ says another year of checking the 2026 mock drafts in November. Are we trading Russ to the Saints before or after we play them, says Sean. That's funny. Dart season, what a lousy game to watch. Let's see. Yes, 14 of the last 15 games lost, A2. Really something. Kylo says, I was at the game and I'm just tired. Tired of opposing fans laughing and trolling. The play calling sucks, and Gunner was in before Jalen Hyatt. Seriously? Kylo, I'm telling you. What is that? What is that? Oh, good point. Good point there. Thank you there, A2. Let's see. Pat, Giants had no shot at winning the game today. They will say the same thing as the Washington game. Andre says people were leaving the stadium at the end of the third quarter. A2, thanks for that heads up there. Dart isn't going to save this team, says Milan. GCN says, Pat, record your monologue and then just hit play after every game this year. This will save you time and your voice. Greedy says, what happens if they play Dart and he's trash? Shaking my head, I blame the coaches for not cutting the water off early. Dable needs to go. I can't support him anymore. Caleb Williams crushed the Cowboys. That's right. E-Man says, get these dudes up out of here. Kylo says 3 interceptions in 3 games, throwing into double coverage, running into sacks. When Dart had 2 snaps in a row, we got happy thinking he was in, and we booed when he left. Hey, you guys are knowledgeable fans. Dan says Young Ho Koo is available. Can save a ton on the cap and get him. Also, Ridgewood, New Jersey, and has beaten the Giants. He beat the Giants in the medium Pepsi game for the Falcons. James says time to clean house from Shane and Dable and Kafka and Bowen. These guys can't run an NFL team at NFL levels. Mara needs to make the move now or definitely after this season. It really just is sad. Let's see. All right. What else do we have here? Let me get to your comments about when we were talking about the coaching. So A2 said he would love Gruden and Wink as the coaching staff. JFed says no to Wink, and H-Town says Jeff Hafley, the Packers DC. Armchair likes Gruden and Wink. John says Gruden isn't an option because Mara is too close to Goodell, and isn't Gruden suing the NFL? Fair point. That could rule him out from this building. Greedy says Gruden, the one rumored to have said racist slurs. No, thank you. Right. Also a factor. Dan says, I think Drew is good. He just had a rough second half. Let's see. Yes, Plains saying to clean house. Could be back. Yes. JDJ says, I can't believe MetLife Stadium security is going to tell you to leave the building before they tell Dable and Shane to leave. Good call. Milan says prediction Dable will be fired after the Chargers game. Dart won't save this team. Ownership may step in and prevent the fielding of Dart. Scott says it's like that. This is, again, one of the things that I keep thinking about. I'm glad you're bringing it back up. It's like there was no offensive game plan outside of running the ball and trying to hit neighbors deep to open things up for number one, get other receivers involved to force the defense to adjust, utilize the tight ends. Seems like this staff loves to force scheme. Players aren't good at play calling that doesn't fit personnel, even switch player positions they have played all their lives, forcing the impossible. How do you put in an injured Gano to kick a short field goal? John says he doubled up after the kick. Dable may lose him for a good portion of the season. Incredible. I know. It's honestly, it's just, you know, I mean, it's a joke. It's a joke. The Giants are a laughing stock right now. Big Brother says I still like Jeff Fisher. Wow. Patrick says, as Dable lost the locker room, keep playing Russ, and he will. I mean, this team is full of guys saying that a lot of things are good except the results. So, I mean, I don't know why, basically they're all enabled to say that things are fine. And so it's, I don't even know how to explain it. It's a loser's mentality. Like even today, like I like Brian Burns. And like I said, he tries hard. He's one of the players who's playing better that, on the team and all that. But he said today, like when he was asked about fans calling for Russell to be benched, he said, hold on, I want to get the quote correct. He said that he, like people weren't saying this when he threw that bomb to Malik to win the game. To win what game? They lost the game. You guys lost the game. I know what he's saying. He's saying that at that point, it looked like Russell Wilson had thrown a game-winning touchdown in the clutch, and then obviously the defense let them down to get it to overtime. But then Wilson did throw a game-losing interception, right, in overtime. It's just saying things like that, like he threw a touchdown to Malik to win the game. They lost that game. They lost it. Jeff Hafley, give him a blank check and everything he wants now, says H-Town. Armchair quarterback again. Thank you so much. Wow. Thanks for all your hard, honest work, Pat. Everyone on here, tell your friends to get on this chat and share their opinions. Armchair, thank you so much. Yeah, I want to bring people on some of these post-game lives, just like we do guest podcasts, like special guests who have tuned into the game, maybe former Giants, things like that, and really make it dynamic and like a good post-game analysis. So stay tuned, more to come there. But you guys also make these chats with your participation, your questions, your passion. Let's see. Do I think Dable has completely checked out? I think he's just, I think I've said this before. I'll say it again. I think Joe Schoen and Brian Dable, since they got here, have been playing GM and coach more than they've really been a GM and coach. I believe that the Giants don't even know what leadership looks like. And I think that Dable now is trying to keep his composure and act like a head coach to prevent all the losing and the sideshow of it all from looking like it. But I mean, he doesn't know how to get a win. They can't win. This team is so bad right now. Who do you see being traded at the deadline? Oh, we'll get there in a sec, James. We'll get there in upcoming chats. You're right though. I mean, this is the thing. They're supposed to be a good team that's developing a rookie quarterback behind the scenes of it, and they're 0-3. Lamamba James says, Pat, I know this now. NFL locker rooms have a code, but the truth will show on the field. Collinsworth said his teammates love Dart, so put him in, see if he can play, said GCN. Authentic has come on. Yes, we could bring him on in a post game as well. Yeah, these dudes are trash. I agree. Guys, FYI, on my TikTok, which is the same handle as YouTube and Instagram, PL on NFL, you can go watch my full interview or Jaxson Dart's full interview in the locker room after the game tonight. He was asked about the fans calling for him and booing Wilson and about the plays that he ran and all that, and about, how much he's itching to play, how he's handling being on the bench while the offense is playing like this, all that. So go check that out, please. And plenty of content on social and on nydailynews.com. Wrote an analysis of this game that is up now, nydailynews.com/sports. This has been Talking Ball Postgame Live with Pat Leonard, brought to you by MyBookie, Hooks, Rubs, and Spices, Boom Chaga Mushroom Super Drink, and Salaretta for Men. Guys, the best way to support this channel is to support our sponsors. Please bet. If you're betting on the NFL, if you're betting on games, if you're tailing my Pat's picks, finally 2-1 this week, by the way, on Pat's picks, man. I was starting to get worried. Go to mybookie.ag, use that code Leonard and get a deposit bonus and get in on the action today. Hooks, Rubs, and Spices. The code is Talkin' Ball, 15% off there. Big Texas barbecue flavor, all natural, and Boom Chaga Mushroom Super Drink, boomchaga.com. Start feeling the difference. It's got that extract you can put in your coffee, tea, or water. It's tasteless. It gives you a nice little boost. Has great health benefits like lowering cholesterol, reduces inflammation with the antioxidants in it. And also the cold teas as well. Go get their cold teas, but go to boomchaga.com, go to the subscribe and save option and use that code TalkingBall25. And Salaretta for Men, if you're trying to look like I do for these arrivals, for these Giants primetime games, go to Salaretta in Bergen County, New Jersey. Tell them that Pat Leonard sent you. Big Dash says this team is cooked, Pat. It's a damn shame. It is. It's a drag. More of the same. Thank you especially to our super chatters tonight. Hooks, Rubs, and Spices. D Kit. Armchair Quarterback. Killing it with a 50 burger. Joey B. Scott. Patrick Evans with a bunch. Nick DeAngelis. Into. Who else do we have? Scott Harris. We got Milan Fan Club San Diego. Joseph Winograd. And then we had Armchair Quarterback wrapping it up again with another 50 burger. Man, I really appreciate everything you guys do here for this channel and for this community. Please continue to tell your Giants fan friends about what we are doing here. I hope I was able to bring some good insight that you couldn't get anywhere else. We always try to do that here. I believe that's what differentiates us, along with allowing you all to participate and have a voice because you deserve it. You guys are the lifeblood of the content that we create, the information that we disseminate. And of course, as I always say, I learn plenty from you guys in these, as well as, while I'm trying to impart knowledge, I learn a ton from you guys and really get a good sense of where the fan base is. And also as a lot of you who were at the game were telling me, just the feeling of the stadium really confirmed for me where you guys are as far as seeing the team, knowing the team. And I respect how you guys act in the stands when things are going well and when things are going poorly. I think when I first got here covering this team, it felt like there was a lot of rose-colored glasses on anytime there were, negative results or things that weren't going the way people wanted them to. But I do feel over the course of this losing, one thing I've seen happen is that the fan base is really, really understands what good football looks like and what bad football looks like. And you guys are done putting up with the bad, right? And so I really do respect that. Yes, hit the like button, as Big Dash says. Jonathan says, facts, Big Dash. Shout out, Boom, Chaga, Pat, welcome back. Jonathan, you're the man. Thank you so much for that super chat as well. Guys, we will be back here. I'll plan to be back here on Monday night, tomorrow night, to talk more about this. Check for my coverage in the Daily News continuing tomorrow on Monday of the quarterback situation and of this team. In the meantime, if you join late, this will be up on the YouTube channel. You can go back and rewatch our Talking Ball post-game live here from MetLife Stadium. I'm about to check out, head home, get some sleep, wake up early, and start writing more about this Russell Wilson, Jaxson Dart, Daniel Jones, and Giants saga that we have playing out here as the Chargers prepare to descend on MetLife Stadium in Week 4. This has been Postgame Live, Talking Ball. Pat Leonard here, New York Daily News NFL columnist and Giants beat writer. Thanks so much for supporting everybody. Thanks for the super chats. Tons of support, tons of love, and good vibes here, even if there aren't good vibes on the field at the moment. A2 says, thanks for the stream, Pat. Always fun to follow along. Misery loves company. Thank you. Dan says, thank you. Dan says, can't wait for the column. And H-Town says, the Giants keep getting boom chagad each game. You guys are the best. Thank you so much. Take care. Have a good night.